So now we can move on to concealer. And with concealer, it's always 2 shades lighter than your actual foundation. So you'll realize as you want to start using a concealer that's lighter than this foundation here. And what I like to do is, this helps me contour the nose, so I just bring that in to the bridge of the nose right here, and then I extend it outwards. And I used to extend it quite far, but it just depends on what look you're going for. So if you extend it quite far, it's going to look like your eyes or more chinky. Whereas if you start around here, it frames the face in this area more. So highlighting those sensitive points right there. Oh, have it. Just underneath the chin. I do a bit on the lip and a bit on the forehead. And you want to get some down the bridge of the nose as well. And then I like to, this is why it's important to know the products that you're using. Because for example, I know that this will dry down quickly, but I also know that I have enough time to apply the contour before this dries up. So it gives me some working space. And I actually like to leave some concealers sitting under the eye for a bit, because then I feel like it will dry up, and I can, even though it's a bit harder for me to blend, it creates a more flawless finish.
The dark one?
Yeah.
Is it yours now? You don't have another one?
And again, the same way, you just want to be, you don't want to ever lift the sponge up completely, you just want to do small little dabs and just move along like that. And what you'll realize is you usually end up having a line when you have a light concealer, so that's why blending is always super important. And then when it comes to the forehead area, if for example like her, she has quite a small forehead, you'd bring the concealer up higher. But if it was someone that had, for example, a bigger forehead, you would want to cast a shadow more than highlight the actual forehead. So I just like to bring that up here. And then with this sponge right here, once I feel like I've blended out well, I'll then grab this side of the sponge, and I'm going to blend out these lines right here with the foundation, so that I don't have a harsh line and you can't see the color difference. So you can see naturally when you start blending, it starts to go up anyways, which is why I tend to not apply any concealer, extend it out here.
Right.
And now that I feel like that's blended, look up for me, single. Now, like I said, every client is different. So you might get a client that has more bags under the eyes, and that will consider you color correcting, for example, which is usually what you would use. You would use an orange toned concealer, or you'd use a red one, and you just apply a bit under the eye, and then you apply the foundation, and then you apply the concealer, and that will cancel out any of the dark circles that are underneath.
So, okay, I'll apply you apply the foundation, then the concealer.
So you would apply the corrector first.
Okay.
And then you'd cover the corrector with the foundation. And that will kind of balance out the whole colour.
Right, okay.
And then lastly, you would then apply
You
the
then,
concealer.
okay, I understand,
So now that I'm happy with that, I'll just grab some translucent powder. I'm still using the damp sponge that I used. I will then bake. So this technique ensures that your makeup lasts longer. And what you do is you just apply the powder and you let it sit on the face. And you want to let it sit for about 3 minutes, but I say don't rely on the time, rely on your client's face. If you realize that the client has quite a dry face, you don't want to leave it on for long, because then that will mean that what you'll find is that if you leave it on for too long and someone has really dry skin, it will end up sticking to the face, and then you'll find it much harder to brush off. So you always want to know exactly what skin type your client has before you apply it. And then so I just apply it on the same areas that I applied the concealer, and that's how I sort of set. And then I'm going to go in with, whilst that's setting, I like to then move on and sort of, you always want to multitask so you can get things done quicker. So now this is setting, I'm going to go in with the bronzer. Now everything that has to do with the face depends on your client. So there's different shades of bronzers for different skin types. There's different shades of translucent powder. There's different shades of any powder to go under the eyes. Different shades of blush, and they all depend on your client's complexion. So I'm going to use this one right here, but if I had someone that had more fairer skin, I wouldn't be able to use this on them.
Yeah.
So I just apply it on the forehead, and this just helps me blend out that concealer that I applied on the forehead, and I sort of just start brushing it out. And then with bronzer, I just apply it right underneath there, and I just do it in circular motions, and I sort of bring it into the forehead also. And I feel like now that bacon has set for a while, because I know how hot face works, so I know that I can't leave the powder on for too long, because then it will start looking quite texturized. So I just wipe that off. And so that's the baking done. And now I'm going to go in with the highlighter. And I like to use a little highlight brush like this, so I can get right in there. And just like I said with the bronzer and the bronzers and the blushes, for example, how depending on the texture, the complexion of your clients, the same applies to highlight. So you want to use one that matches their skin tone correctly.
Yeah.
This is all preference. So you ask your client, how much highlighter do you want? Do you like quite a lot? I know that she likes quite a lot. So I'm just going to go ahead and start applying it. And you do it with a really light hand, and make sure that you grab it right at the end. If you grab it from the front, you'll have too much control over it, and it will leave really harsh lines.
Okay, got it.
So you want to make sure that you grab it right at the end, and then you have less control of it, but you know that you're blending really softly. And so you just want to blend at the top, so right on that cheekbone right there, that's where you want to apply that highlight. And usually with highlighter is you will notice that it will leave a mark, as in it will look really harsh. But that's why blending comes into place, and that's when you retouch on the bronzer and you redo and you apply the blusher, and then you realize that everything will go seamlessly together. I also like to apply some onto the top lip, just creates more dimension. And then before I do the nose, I'm gonna go and grab a brush, and then I'm just gonna contour the nose. So I like to contour with eyeshadows, but I tend to look at my palettes and see which one I feel like would work better with her skin tone. So then I will apply the contour starting right here, and I will work my way down. And the same way I've grabbed the brush before, you want to do it really lightly on the nose. Because what you realize is once you have foundation on, a lot of the colours start to pick up quite easily, so you won't need to worry about how dark it comes out. You just want to apply it softly. Because it's much easier to apply than it is to take off. So if you apply too much, it will be harder to remove it. Whereas if you build slowly, you don't notice it. So I'm just going to go in with this blush. And with freelancing and doing makeup on clients, you'll realise that you don't want to carry a lot of stuff, so you always want to make sure you're asking your client beforehand, like what skin type she has, so you know exactly what products to have. And you also want to just use like products that come together, and then these come in all different shades, so I can just use this, and then depending on whatever client I have, I will use a different. And then I use the blush right underneath the highlighter, and I just use that onto the skin. It sort of helps also to blend out that highlighter so that it doesn't look so intense. And just doing that circular motion that I was doing before. And everything is done with a very light hand. You always want to make sure you have a light hand. So when you're happy with that, that would be how I would leave it. But you always just want to, at the end, ask the client, are you happy with how much blush you have? Some prefer more blush, some just prefer it how it is.
Yeah.
So it's just really what they request.